to simplify and write my answer using only positive exponents. Now when you're doing this, you need to deal with what's inside the parentheses first. So here's the rule. If it doesn't have an exponent, you leave it alone. So the 5 doesn't have an exponent, or if it has a positive exponent, you leave it alone. You leave it where it's at. So the 5 doesn't have an exponent, so it stays up top. The 8 to the negative 6, if it has a negative exponent, it has to move. So since it's on the top, I'm going to take that to the bottom. You take the exponent away when you do that. B to the negative 7, that's a negative exponent, so that's going to go to the bottom. C to the negative 1, that's a negative exponent. Now notice when I move them, I take the negative sign away. Now in the denominator, the 10, it doesn't have an exponent, so I'm just going to put it out front here. It stays on the bottom because it doesn't have an exponent. A to the negative 8, that's a negative exponent, so it's on the bottom. It's going to move to the top. The B doesn't have an exponent, so it stays where it's at. C to the negative 9 has a negative exponent, so you move it. It's on the bottom. You take it to the top and take the negative away. Okay, now just dealing with the numerical part of it. 5 over 10, you can simplify that. 5 divided by 5 is 1. 10 divided by 5 is 2, so that's 1/2. Okay, for my A's, you want to see where the biggest exponent is. I have an 8 and a 6. The biggest exponent's on the top. That means in your answer, your A is going to be on the top. I shouldn't say your answer because that's going to just be the next step. Now you subtract the exponents. 8 take away 6 is 2. For my B's, well, I don't have any B's on the top, so I just have B's on the bottom. Now we got to figure out how many we have. We have 7 here and 1 here. That's a total of 8. For my C's, the largest exponent's on the top, so I keep my C on the top, and then subtract the exponents with the C. 9 take away 1 is 8. Okay, so that inside of the first problem is simplified. Now we have to deal with this negative 1. Well, the 1 means you just have one of these. The negative exponent on the outside means flip the final answer. So my answer is not going to be a squared c8 over 2b to the 8th. It's going to be flipped. So the denominator becomes the numerator, 2b to the 8th. The numerator becomes the denominator. We are just switching these because of the negative exponent. So I don't need the 1. So a squared c to the 8th. And that's going to be the answer. So again, I'm going to write down what's inside without negative exponents. So my x to the cube is a positive exponent. Positive exponents stay where they are. I'm just doing the numerator first. Y to the negative 2, that's a negative exponent, so it must move to the bottom as y squared. Z to the negative 4, that's a negative exponent, so that moves to the bottom as z to the 4th. In my denominator, the y doesn't have an exponent, so it stays where it's at. Z to the negative 1 is a negative exponent, so you move it to the top. The only time you move something is when it has a negative exponent. Okay, let's simplify that. Okay, I only have x's in the numerator, so I'm just going to leave that alone, x to the 3rd. For my z's, the biggest exponent's on the bottom, so I'm going to put my z on the bottom, and then you take your z's and subtract those numbers. 4 take away 1 is 3. For my y's, I only have y's in the denominator, so I have 2 here and 1 here. That's a total of 3. Okay, so that is simplified. The inside of the original problem in the parentheses is now simplified. Now I have to take that to the 5th power. So all we have to do is multiply the exponents at this point. So 3 times 5 is 15 for my x. For my z, I've got 3 times 5 is 15. And for the y, I also have 3 times 5 is 15. The original problem did not have a negative exponent on the outside, so we do not flip our answer. So again, the only time you flip your answer is when you have a negative exponent on the outside. So the next one, the only thing we're going to move is if it has a negative exponent. So the 4 we leave where it's at. A to the negative 1 is going to go to the bottom as a to the 1. B to the negative 7 is going to go to the bottom as b to the 7th. C to the negative 5 is going to go to the bottom as c to the 5th. In the denominator, the 8 doesn't have an exponent, so it stays where it's at. A to the negative 3 is a negative exponent, so it moves to the top. B doesn't have an exponent, so it stays where it's at. C to the negative 8 has a negative exponent, so you move it to the top. Okay, 4 eighths reduces to 1/2 because you can divide them both by 4. For the A, the largest exponent's on the top, so you put yours on the top, and then 3 take away 1 is 2. For the, let me just go in alphabetical order. For the B's, I just have B's on the bottom. I have 7 here and 1 here, that's a total of 8. For my C's, the largest exponent is on the top, so I put my C on the top. 8 take away 5 is 3. The inside of the parentheses is simplified. I take that to the negative 1. Well, the 1 just means I have one of these. The negative means flip the entire fraction. So my answer is going to be 2b to the 8th over, you don't need the 1 here, a squared c cubed, and you're done.